Cinematographer Gordon Willis was known for his underexposed photography, particularly black and white photography in Manhattan. Willis in this movie, much like his other films, manages to create these powerful, bold, and striking images, which are so direct and so stunning. Manhattan is a masterclass in Willis's blocking, shadow play, tonality, all while approaching cinematography with the philosophy that the camera is the instrument of the story that tells the story.
Did he like what? How did it?
That's when I started blocking for him. You know, discussing the way scenes could play in a room, and this any suggestion about how, if you look at those movies, the way they move along and how he presents himself in and out of rooms and things. It was all the suggestions I gave him based on the blocking, you know, about how you should play a scene. Whereas blocking and a camera becomes an instrument of telling the story.
Right.
It's not simply, you know, the other way.
Willis was dubbed by fellow cinematographer Conrad Hill as the Prince of Darkness due to his minimal use of lighting while flooding his scenes with shadows. Willis, however, disagreed with Conrad's assessment, rather preferring to himself in terms of visual relativity, contrasting high-key lighting with low-key, underexposed scenes. This creates, I think, a great duality and more of a visually interesting sequence back and forth from high and low exposure. Willis never used exaggerated camera angles to display subjects of the frame, rather bent on focusing on the subjects as they are. Keeping a neutral camera at eye level, which is a more frontal presentation allowing for a theatrical presentation to focus on rather on the performances on the actors. And also keeping the camera at eye level allows the audience to relate better to the characters. He only ever really used high angle views, if ever, on exceptional occasions throughout his career, like in The Godfather. Willis's intentional compositions are visually stunning and appealing to the eye. This scene, for instance, most of which is washed in shadows, is such a visually stunning image, not just because of its radical use of darkness, but also because of its use of balance as a technique of photography, displaying both elements of the frame equally in juxtaposition. Different parts of the image really allow the audience to draw their eye in equally to every single part of the image. Another common composition that I noticed in the film was how Willis would use the frame within a frame, which creates a more engaging image. It allows the image to have more depth and is sometimes used as a kind of symbol of voyeurism or even distance, that distance itself off from the audience. I think what's really important to note in Willis's cinematography is how he uses imagery to communicate the story to the audiences. One example is this scene where Alan and Keaton's character are walking home from dinner and there's a "don't walk" sign off at the corner of the frame, which works as a kind of warning to the characters before they start their relationship that they should not continue. Another example is the planetarium scene where you have Alan and Keaton silhouetted by backlights. Maybe Willis's way of communicating to the audience that their love between them, that they're starstruck, or maybe it's a way of saying or noting the insignificance of their lives and the greater contrast of the universe.